I had come here for a vacation, and we decided to stay all night at the Lemp Mansion. And sometime during the night, I was sound asleep, and I felt him, like, rubbing my shoulder. I kind of just rolled over, and when I rolled over, I opened my eyes, and my husband was sound asleep on the other side of the bed. I just sat bolt upright in bed. I did not go back to sleep the rest of the night. I was awake.
There's Billy right there. That's the last known picture of him before he committed suicide.
But that's not the end of the misery for this tragic family tree. In 1949, Billy's brother Charles committed the third suicide in the house.
Charles was a bachelor. He lived here alone, and I think that, you know, it was an easier way out for him. I think he was tired of being here.
The servants moved him downstairs into what was a small little library room. And in that room, in 1949, is where he took his life. Charles is the only one who wrote a suicide note. And it said, "In case I am found dead, blame it on no one but me, Charles A. Lemp."
Today, Charles' spirit still roams these halls. Just ask the staff.
I'm behind the desk in the office, and I see a man walk out of this room over here, the Charles Lemp suite, turns his back to me walking down the hallway. And I knew that no one was supposed to be here and the doors were locked, so I tried to flag him down. And I said, "Excuse me, sir." And he just kept walking. The older man never saw his face. He turns this corner right here, and I'm following him about 5 steps behind him. And he's pretty much just ignoring me. And so when I turn this corner, he's walking right into the suite here. And he didn't stop. So when I walked into the room, I never found him again.
I'm sure that he probably saw Charles. Now, I've heard that described so many different times. The man walking away from them, a man in a suit.
This man I saw was definitely a ghost. There's absolutely no way that he was in the building. He just vanished.
But there's one Lemp brother we haven't told you about yet. Upstairs in the attic, our paranormal expert identified another spirit. She calls him Zeke Lemp.
What's significant about the attic is the 4th death in the house that we had here would have been Zeke, who was born mentally and physically handicapped. And he lived up here his entire life.
The servants that were here, they took care of him. People didn't talk about him a lot. Being a little boy, he also looked out the windows. And he loved it because he liked to watch the people.
He lived to be about 13 years old, and just through insufficient health care, he probably had special needs that weren't being met. Died in this room when he was about 13 years old.
Do you feel that? Do you feel anything? Any one of you? He's saying, "My home, get out. My home, get out."
There's been numerous stories of people saying that they see a boy looking out the windows up here, you know, from the street. They see him.
So no matter if you're out on the street or taking a room for the night, someone in the Lemp Mansion is always watching you.
There's truth to it. It did happen. You know, that you can verify these facts and these events. And that, to me, is one of the things that makes it a chilling place to be.
Coming up, look like a good place to grab a beer? Just stay out of the basement.
I'm not gonna lie, it's freaky. There's things in there you can't explain.
And later, don't believe in ghosts? A night in this 19th century haunted house will make you a believer.
Myself, I was a skeptic. Now, I do believe there is something else to the house.
When the most terrifying places in America 2 returns. Step inside Bobby Mackey's Music World, a honky-tonk in the small town of Wilder, Kentucky. On Fridays and Saturdays from 7 p.m. to 2:30 a.m., this is a normal saloon with live bands and bull rides. But if you make the mistake of stumbling into the basement, your happy hour turns into haunting hour.
Are there any spirits here that would like to speak to us tonight?
No, he isn't talking about the bottles behind the bar.
Oh. Yeah, did you get it too?
'Cause Bobby Mackey's is perhaps the most haunted saloon in America.
It's really scary. It's like
It's nothing like I've ever experienced before.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say this haunts at about a 12.
Sometimes when I close up at night, I mean, the hair stands up on the back of your neck and everything. You think you feel somebody watching you. It's like, let's hurry up and get this done so I can get the hell out of here.
We wouldn't walk in a place like this alone. We brought along paranormal investigators Terry Casper, Chris Dedman, and Dan Smith to find out what makes Bobby Mackey's such an unholy, scary watering hole.
Bobby Mackey's has a long-standing history of it being haunted. There have been many stories of spirits, deaths, and ghostly occurrences that have happened here over the years.
The history of horror starts back in the late 1800s. This room was allegedly the site of one of the most infamous murders in Kentucky history.
This room is creepy.
Yeah, when you walk in the room, you can almost sense a negative energy. Hello. Is there someone here with us?
The victim, 22-year-old Pearl Bryan. In 1896, she was 5 months pregnant when her lover, Scott Jackson, and friend Alonzo Walling tried to perform an amateur abortion on her with dental instruments. The procedure was a failure, and with Pearl howling in pain, the pair killed and beheaded her. It's believed they dumped her severed head in a well where this very basement stands today. These days, locals call this the portal to hell.
Her murderers, Scott Jackson and Alonzo Walling, were accused of being in occult activity and maybe even satanic rituals here at that time. Well, the only thing that would have existed is this well. So the idea is that possibly they may have sacrificed her head as a sacrifice to the devil. This is probably the most evil place you'll ever encounter in your lifetime.
And that's just the beginning of Bobby Mackey's poltergeist past. In the 1950s, the building was a nightclub called the Latin Quarter, where the daughter of the owner, Johanna, met a grisly end. And like Pearl, Johanna was 5 months pregnant.
She was in love with a singer named Robert Randall. At the time, she was pregnant by him, and the last night he performed here, they were going to run off together. Her dad had ended up finding out about it, so he had Robert Randall killed. She, in turn, ended up poisoning her dad, poisoned herself.
While Johanna's father survived, she succeeded in killing herself and her unborn child in this basement dressing room. Today, her ghost still roams this dank subterranean space.
Where I'm standing at is where Johanna died, right here inside this room. This was her dressing room.
A lot of people still report smelling her perfume, her rose perfume, go past them in the club and still feel her presence around.
I'm not gonna lie, it's freaky. There's things in there you can't explain.
And the ghostly activity in this most haunted of honky-tonks continues right up to the present day. In 1978, unaware of its horrifying past, Bobby Mackey and his wife Janet bought the building and turned it into this music club.
When we were planning to open, Janet was pregnant at the time. Janet was upstairs, and she said something grabbed her and scooted her to the top of the steps and dropped her. And she delivered the baby at 5.5 months.
The same number of months Pearl and Johanna were pregnant at the times of their deaths. 3 women, 3 pregnancies, and though they were decades apart, they all fell prey to the curse of Bobby Mackey's. Thankfully, Janet's baby survived. So is there any merit to these tales of the phantom honky-tonk? We wanted to find out for ourselves. So our ghost hunters, Terry, Chris, and Dan, scoured the basement with an EVP device to see if they could record any voices from beyond the grave.
If there's anybody here that would like to communicate with us, we have a tool here that will record your voice. Who's here with us?
There's a big temperature drop. It sounds like a female voice whispering, some rasping on the wall. Very active.
I just got a real long hit, like it was picking up a voice. Oh, I can't hear what that says, but that sounds evil.
Wow.
That's freaky. I get the chills.
Right there. And that's nothing that we heard with our naked ear.
Maybe we've angered a spirit who didn't want us in here and was trying to make noise to get us out.
It was pretty frightening. I've never heard anything so clear.
This whole building is built around the realm of death and torture and murder. You never know who the actual spirit is.
Scary. My heart's racing right now.
Well, one thing's for sure. At Bobby Mackey's Music World, you'll never drink alone. When we return, what happens when ghosts design their own haunted house?
I bet people would go in and just have no way out and they'd probably be stuck there forever.
And later, don't slow down. You have no idea what's behind you.
One moment, there's nobody behind you. The next moment, there's headlights in your rearview mirror. It drives erratically. It tailgates, tries to force you off the road.
When the most terrifying places in America 2 continues. The next stop on our journey into terror is here in San Jose, California. This might look like a perfectly normal old mansion, but it's seriously paranormal, because this rambling Victorian was actually designed by ghosts. Enter the Winchester Mystery House.
It has so many twists and turns, so many doors that will lead to nowhere, and that could be a little bit terrifying.
I bet people would go in and just have no way out and they'd probably be stuck there forever.
The Winchester Mystery House is one of the most terrifying houses in America, just because of the story behind it.
This tantalizing tale concerns the owners of the Winchester Rifle Company, one of America's most prominent gun makers. In 1881, years after the death of her 6-week-old daughter, Sarah Winchester also lost her husband, William. The widow inherited the company's huge fortune, but her sorrow was just as great. Sarah consulted a psychic who told her the spirits of the men and women killed by Winchester guns had caused her daughter and young husband to die. To protect Sarah from the spirits, the psychic offered a truly bizarre remedy.
The medium told her that the only way she could appease the spirits was by building a house continuously, never to complete it, and that as long as she kept building, the spirits would not harm her.
So in 1884, Sarah moved from Connecticut to San Jose, where she purchased an 8-room farmhouse on a 160-acre estate, and used her fortune to embark on the most madcap renovation project of all time, to protect herself from those vengeful spirits.
She started building 24 hours a day for 38 continuous years.
And legend has it that Sarah's architects were giving her blueprints from beyond the grave.
And this is the seance room, and this is the heart of the mansion itself, and this is where it said that Mrs. Winchester came nightly to meet with the spirits. And it's these spirits who gave her the guidance and direction as far as building the house.
And poor Sarah Winchester had to carry out their diabolical designs or suffer their wrath. The results? A sprawling 24,000 square foot house with 160 rooms, 10,000 window panes, and 47 fireplaces. And this isn't your typical rambling mansion. There are doors that open to elevator shafts, hidden rooms.
Looks again like another closet, but when you open it up, it opens up to an